When you start living with the end in mind, everything starts to change. What are people going to say about you? What message is your life going to speak when you're long gone? Because you weren't born by accident. You didn't just happen to be where you're at and happen to watch this video. There is always a reason.
But I just want to welcome you guys to our Fuse Life podcast, episode number 30. At Fuse Life, we are about the abundant life. We are all about the full life, the holistic life. We understand God-given purpose and assignment, and we are helping people find and engage their purpose in God. So I'm super pumped to have a special guest today. I was with them just earlier this month at the house, and Rachael Khachadourian is one of a kind. So I just want to welcome you here, Rachael. Thank you so much for jumping on with us.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Joseph, for having me. It's such an honor. I can't wait.
Man, the honor is all mine. You know, you meet some people and then you feel a connection. And I remember meeting Josh and then meeting you guys in the back room at the 100X conference and knowing there was something there. I didn't know what, but I knew there was something there. And now I'm so excited to watch it play out.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love all the connections that we've made through 100X, and you're amazing. You're amazing.
Man, so the feeling's mutual. So let's do this thing. Rachael, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you?
Absolutely. Okay, so guys, we'll do the short version first, and then I'll get into a little bit of my backstory. I am a wife to Josh Khachadourian, best husband in the world. We have 3 children, Elise, who's 11, Jace, who's 8, and Gavin, who just turned 4. And I own several different online businesses. I own an Etsy store where, in which we make children's clothing. We manufacture that clothing in my hometown now that we've grown the company. And then I also, because we have done very well on the Etsy platform, and for those of you that don't know what Etsy is, it's an online platform where you can sell handmade goods, supplies, or vintage items. Because I've done so well, I have made an online course to teach other people how to succeed there too. So those are our 2 primary businesses that we have now. So yeah, it's been a wild ride the last 15 years, actually, since I've been married to my husband, Josh. And I have to describe the last 15 years, or I'd say 16 to 17, as supernatural. Actually, I'm going to go back to when, or just before I met my husband. I was working in corporate America. I was a pharmaceutical rep, and by most people's standards, I had it all. You know, I was young. I was making lots of money. I was doing really well, but I didn't know the Lord. And I had a lot of empty places inside. And I went through a major period of depression, actually right before I met my husband.
Wow.
I think it was about 6 months before I met my husband. The period of depression was so bad, I was on my couch and I couldn't get up.
Wow.
It was like major.
How old were you then?
Let's see, I was 24.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was living at home alone, no one to check in on me. It was really, really bad. And my daughter is actually in the room with me now listening, so I'm going to skip over some of the details, but you guys can imagine, you know, when your depression gets to a point where it's really severe.
Wow.
Whatever you can imagine was what I was going through. So I got through that basically on my own. My parents weren't near me. And actually, it wasn't on my own because I know the Lord was with me. Even though I didn't know him as Father at that point, I know he was with me.
Wow.
So, yeah. So anyways, I ended up meeting my husband and he led me to the Lord. He, he did a little missionary dating. And I then met his amazing mother, and she mentored me in every aspect of the Lord you can imagine. She's an incredible intercessor, and I spent almost every single day at their house. I couldn't wait to go over there after work, and she would just pray with me, and she'd teach me the word, and it was like just such a powerful, powerful time in my life. That was definitely a period where the Lord really put that strong foundation in me. And I started to have a lot of supernatural things happen in my life. I started to see things supernaturally in the spirit. Like I said, I was really coached in intercession, and I started to really know the Lord as a God that is a God who wanted to speak to me and wanted to know every part of my life. And just to have that access to him was just so incredible to me. So, yeah, were you going to ask a question?
That's such a good way to start a relationship, especially like with your in-laws, you know, like that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to make this kind of quick because I know we don't have a ton of time, but we ended up getting engaged. And the night we got engaged, my husband gave me the most beautiful letter. And in the letter, I'm going to get a little emotional. He just told me, he just spoke life into me in the letter he gave me. And he told me that I was a Proverbs 31 woman.
Wow.
And this was before I really had a grasp of what that was. And it was before I had really stepped into anything in the entrepreneurial space. It was before, it was before most things that have occurred in my life that might make someone think of me as possibly falling into that category. Although I'm still, I don't feel like I'm there at all, you guys, but that is the standard that I would love to, that I go for it. I want to be that woman that hits all those points. Yeah. So anyways, he spoke that into me. I feel like he prophesied that over me in that letter. And we ended up getting married, obviously. And our life just has been a series of amazing miracles. We ended up moving to New York City about a year after we got married. And that was a miracle in itself, the way we were transported. We moved about 3 hours from our family, so we were totally alone. I'm a brand new Christian. I go to this place that was totally foreign to me, and I'm from the country, like major country girl. I grew up on a farm, and I'm thrust into this place which I ended up growing to love, but it was such a change. Had all these people in New York City who are so strong, and they're aggressive, and I'm like the quietest person in the world. And the Lord knew what he was doing, because he had me go down there. And the first day I was down there in my new job as a pharmaceutical rep, my car got broken into. And it was like, the Lord was almost like, you know what, this is going to happen, but you're going to be okay. You're totally going to be okay. We ended up finding a church. The church was amazing. And the pastors, they really took us in like family. They were amazing. And within a year, I would say, they had placed us within leadership, which for me as a new Christian, that was dramatic, because I'm still feeling, I was feeling very inadequate. I've got all these people that I'm over, and most of them have been Christians way longer than me. Yeah, they named us the deans of their Wagner School of Leadership, which was so
Wow.
cool. You know, we got to have all kinds of amazing conferences with people like Cindy Jacobs and Cheyenne, and yeah, it was a really incredible time.
Wow.
So after that, we ended up moving to Pennsylvania, which seemed more like what I was used to, you know, a little laid back. And at that point, we had our first child. And I really didn't want to go back to work. We had our first son, second child. And so I really was seeking the Lord. And I was like, Lord, I need you to show me. I need wisdom. Please give me a solution to this problem. I want to be home with my children. We don't live near our families. I need you to show me what I can do to stay at home and make what I had been making in my corporate job, which was close to 6 figures at that point. And so I, you know, naturally, I was searching with my natural mind, looking all over, looking at different types of jobs I could do from home. I looked at medical transcription, which I even bought a course to do. I looked into different sorts of network marketing. And the whole time, my husband, he was so good with me, but he was like, you know, I need you to hurry up because we just bought this new home and we have a mortgage, and you know, he's being very supportive, but yet also kind of pushing me a little bit. And I was like, all right, I know the Lord's going to give me an answer. So one day in prayer, I was like, Lord, I know the answer is on the way. And I need you to show me how to be that Proverbs 31 woman that my husband told me I was in that letter years ago. You have to show me. So I was really pulling on him. And then one day he said, I want you to learn how to sew. And so I was like, Lord, is that you? Because I was not crafty at all, never had been. And I really felt like it was him telling me. So I was like, all right, I believe what you say is what I should do. So I got on YouTube and I started to practice. I borrowed one of my mom's old sewing machines and I started making pillow covers. I went on eBay and started selling them, and they started to sell like crazy. My husband couldn't believe it. He's like, maybe you did hear the Lord on this. So after that, I'm like, all right, so maybe this is something. So I started looking around, and that's when I discovered Etsy. And because this was something that wasn't really me wanting to fulfill myself artistically with a craft, it was me wanting to make money. So I used my business background and I investigated. I pulled Etsy apart. I was like, all right, so what are the niches where I can make money? And who has the biggest wait times? And that's how I found the niche that I went into and ended up starting making baby bedding for nurseries. And I made my own patterns. I kind of was self-taught in making patterns. I would go out and buy an item, and then I'd make my own pattern to make it my own.
Wow.
And so I think there were about 8 to 10 items that I taught myself how to make. So within about a couple months after opening my shop, I started getting so busy. I was up until 3, 4 in the morning making all these items, and the sales were coming in like crazy. So I'm like, Josh, what am I going to do? So I started hiring people to work with me.
Wow.
And so it was just such a blessing that I was able to not only help my family financially and take the burden off my husband, which was my primary goal. I also got it to bless other women that wanted to stay home as well.
Wow.
So yeah, it was incredible. So this went on for a few years. I opened another shop just to make sure that I wanted to prove to myself I could do it again, and that the Lord was going to, back me up again. And it happened again.
Wow.
So at this point, my husband was like, okay, so now you know how to do this. The Lord's given you the wisdom on how to do this. And I'll say that being on Etsy and succeeding is not easy. And I'm not saying this to brag about myself, because I believe that what happened with me was absolutely the Lord's favor on me. But I will say that I'd say 95% of the sellers are struggling, and my shops just really took off. So I had people coming to me and asking me, Rachel, how did you do this? And so I would tell them. And my husband one day was like, Rachel, why don't you just make a course? Because you have all this information and it could easily be put into a course. And I was, I'm okay behind my sewing machine. I'm good, Josh. Yeah. So he really encouraged me to do it. So I did it. And after I made the course, I really wasn't into social media much. And so I knew that I was going to have to promote this course somehow. And we had hired a mentor that was great in all these things and creating courses and whatnot. And he really didn't teach me how to promote or grow my social media. So I'm like, all right, Lord, again, I'm coming to you. I know you're going to give me this wisdom, and I believe it's going to happen, just like it says in James, James 1:5, I believe it is. Ask of him and believe, and he's going to give you that wisdom. So he showed me how to grow my Instagram account. So within about a year, I had grown my Instagram account to about, I think it was around 22,000 people in the first year. And all of the people that were in my Instagram account were Etsy sellers, which were my target market. So I was actually featuring their products. And so they were, of course, highly interested in my feature page. And then what I would do is I would message them. I'm giving you guys all my secrets. I would message them and I would say, hey, listen, I know that as an Etsy seller, it can be lonely. And if you'd like to collaborate and join other Etsy sellers, I have this group over here that you can join. And so within about a year and a half, I'd grown my Facebook group to about 6,500 people. And they were all Etsy sellers, which were my target audience, the people that would want to buy my course. And that strategy was given to me by the Lord.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's been really an incredible journey. And with the second shop, we started making baby outfits. And that shop has grown so much that now we're not able to keep up with the demand, my seamstresses and I. So we have them manufactured now in a factory that's not far from our home. So the Lord has just really breathed life into these businesses, and it's really exciting. I mean, it's been a wild ride, and along the way, it's been challenging because I've struggled with, oh my goodness, am I enough? All of those things that we naturally deal with as the Lord has you go down the path that He has for you. But I've done my best, my very best to say yes. Although so many parts of the journey have been scary for me, because it's caused me to really step out of my comfort zone. And, I'm just excited to see what's down the road and what's going to happen next. And so if there are any women out there that are listening, I can't see the comments right now, but anyone that's listening, if you have that burning desire in you that the Lord's planted in you, if you have that seed of desire to do something, whether it's entrepreneurial or if you have something that you want to do for the Lord, don't let anything stop you. It won't be easy. And I've hit so many challenges along the way, but he will give you the resources that you need. He'll give you the time. He'll give you the energy. I remember in the very beginning stages, I would be up until 4 in the morning and then get up again at 6 in the morning to be with our children who are staying at home. So, and all the while, I really, obviously we were making a lot of money, but a lot of the money was going out of the business. When you have a business, you're kind of like feeding the business. It's its own monster. So it's not like I was bringing in a ton of extra money for us. It was like money for the business in the beginning years. But there was always, it was like I had a supernatural source of energy. People were like, how can you do this? Why aren't you tired? And I'm like, it is the Lord. And I knew that I was working towards something, and I didn't know exactly what it was, but I knew that this was the path that he had for me. And I was working towards, his end goal.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so cool. We do have a few comments on here of people just saying, oh my gosh, thank you. Light bulbs going off. I know some of the people listening right now they also are getting on this business journey, entrepreneurial journey. So maybe now we can break down some of this. Like, what is a Proverbs 31 woman to you? I was chatting with my wife just this morning, and I believe my wife's like that too. And there's actually a lot of verses that talk about trading and talk about something entrepreneurial or business like. So what's your opinion on a Proverbs 31 woman?
Well, I believe that a Proverbs 31 woman, of course, puts the Lord first. And also, she loves her family. She wants to see her family supported in the best way possible. And hence, she's got that business side to her. So she's got that side to her where she's ministering to the Lord. And then she's also supporting her family. She's feeding into them. She's praying for them. She's supporting her husband. That's really important to me. One of the reasons that I am so focused, I think, in creating more finances for our family, which we can then disperse, and give out, is I really want to support my husband. He has been such an incredible support to me. He's been the one person that's really stood behind me and believed in me. I mean, a lot of our family has done that too, but he's seen me in the day in and the day out where I've been down and I've been up, and he's seen me on that roller coaster, and he's got so much in him that the Lord has given to him. I want to be that financial engine behind him so that he doesn't feel like he has to be that financial support to the family. That's like one of my huge goals, because I kind of want to set him free in that way so that he can pursue the things that God has put in him. I mean, there's so much in him. He's such a deep well that I think that's one of the major parts of being that Proverbs 31 woman, is to be that support. It says that the Proverbs 31 woman's husband, he's known, right?
Yeah, at the gates, yeah.
Yeah, he's known in the gates. And I want my husband to be like that. And I want to be that engine behind him.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and then it says, that she looks at a field and she goes out and she buys the fields, and then she puts her money into other things. And that's what I want to do. I want to be able to fund different things in the kingdom that need funding. There's so many amazing things out there that need financial resources. And I mean, why not us?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
in a nutshell, that's my definition.
Yeah. Wow. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Proverbs 31 woman, we're talking about the book of Proverbs from the Bible. In chapter 31, from about verse 10, it starts to describe this woman, and the title says, The Woman Who Fears the Lord. So I truly believe that there is a Proverbs 31 woman in every woman who fears the Lord. It's in there. It's not a natural thing, it's like a supernatural thing. It's something that's birthed out of your union with God. And when you read that from verse 10 onwards till the end, you will be amazed at what it says that this woman is doing. You know, there's a men's version, in a sense, you could call it, in Psalms 112. But this Proverbs 31 woman, that's what we're talking about. So, Rachel, maybe we can go into your story a little bit, because there is a lot that happened, even though we just covered that quickly. Let's start with this. So, you get married, you have these kids, and you're still working your normal job at that time?
No, when I was pregnant for our first son, when we moved to Pennsylvania, I was not working while I was pregnant. So, but since we had to buy a new home, and we had a lot of expenses, my husband wanted me to go back into pharmaceuticals.
So you did work there for a while before you got this idea?
Well, not while I was in Pennsylvania. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So you're like, okay, Lord, help me. And now, can you talk us through that a little bit when he says, I want you to sow? Because I believe God gives us all ideas all the time.
Yeah.
But, so what, can you talk us through that when you hear that?
Yeah. So, okay. So if you're new to hearing the Lord's voice, which I wouldn't say that I was new, but I think it's natural sometimes when you hear something unexpected for you to be like, oh, was that the Lord? Or did I eat too much pizza last night? You know, especially, when you hear something that's really out of the box and not what you really want to hear. I didn't want to hear that. You know, so many times I think we go into our vision of what our perfect life would be. And, you know, our plans are not the Lord's plans. And so when I prayed, Lord, give me an answer, he gave me learn how to sow as a seed. You know, and that was his answer. You know, my husband was talking about this yesterday on one of his videos. He talked about how the Lord will give you an answer to a prayer in seed form. And then it's up to you to steward that seed so that it grows into what it's meant to be.
Man, I love that. I talk about that too. Like, he's not a one-time only God. He creates ecosystems, you know, that will produce over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So to get back to what happened when I heard that, I struggled. If I really, really wrestled with that, because I was like, Lord, it is going to take me forever to learn this new skill. You know, I am a quick start. I don't know if you guys know what that is. There's a special personality assessment. My current mentor, Pedro Adeo, he's amazing. He is a quick start. And what that means is that we like to do things quickly. We don't need a lot of details. And we are just like, okay, all right, I need to make money. I am going to pick this one thing and I'm going to go do it. And I wanted to do that. But the fact that I had to learn a new skill meant that it was going to happen slowly. I thought that's what it meant. I expected to have to spend a year learning this new craft, but he accelerated it.
Wow.
Yeah, there was favor on it because I was obedient and I listened to what he told me.
Wow.
It didn't make sense. You know, and sometimes the things that you hear from the Lord, they're not going to make sense to you. You know, you think about Noah. The Lord told him to build an ark, and he's like, what do you mean build an ark? But he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, so he tells you to sew and you're like, oh
Mhm.
man, this is going to be slow. What the heck? But then you have to go and buy the equipment and then you have to decide how you're going to learn, which is like watching YouTube. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So my mom actually had an extra sewing machine, and she is an amazing seamstress and had always wanted me to learn how to sew, but I never had any interest in it. So I went to her and I said, all right, Mom, I need that sewing machine. And she was just so excited. So I went on YouTube and I devoured content on how to sew. And I just practiced for a whole weekend. And that quick start side of me just said, all right, I'm going to pick a really easy thing. I'm going to pick pillow covers. And I went out and I bought a ton of fabric that I thought was really cool. And I'm like, okay, I know this is popular. So I always go with things that I know are popular. And that's part of my current business model too. I say, why make things difficult on yourself? Why not go with a trend that's out there? And then you can build upon that trend with some things that you'd like to add into that, which might be more personalized. So I made, I don't know, like 40 pillow covers in a weekend, and I threw them up. And yeah, and it took me a while at first, but I got in the beginning, it would take me about 45 minutes to make a pillow cover. But then I got it down to maybe 20 minutes because I got really, really quick. And so I'd say within a month or so, I had sold maybe 120 pillow covers.
Wow.
So
That's good stuff.
it went fast. And so then I jumped onto Etsy after that. And then the process over again, but that process had grown. So now, I had started with just learning one thing, but then I had to teach myself how to make 10 things.
Wow. Man, there's so much in here because I think we get ideas from God all the time, but because of the process, we say no. But we don't realize He has the best prize at the end of this process,
Yeah.
So yep.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say there was a little bit of breaking in that process, because I was like, if I'm really, really honest, there were days where I was like, Lord, I hate this.
Yeah.
I hate this. This is not something that I love, but I love you more than I hate this process. And He was working in me character, because I always wanted to get the orders out on time, even though I had to stay up for hours and hours on end. And, it was just like He was teaching me so many aspects of character that I would need throughout my business journey.
Wow. Just in terms of this video, it's playing up a little bit. I don't know if it's the internet connection, but the sound's good, so we're going to keep going here. Man, there's so many nuggets in what Rachel is sharing. I hope you guys are getting that. Like, through this whole story, you see this interwoven mystery of working together, of co-laboring, of this is not a God's like He just says something, He does it all, and you just kind of like it's a mix. There is a two-part journey here, and I'm loving all of this. So okay, so you start sewing, you make this thing, and now you're on Etsy. Did you have problems charging money?
No.
No. Did you ever have? Because these are things people process. Like, oh, how can you pay so much for something? Or
you know what? I shouldn't say no absolutely like that. So when I started, I was not overly confident in my sewing skills. Although I had practiced a lot on eBay with those pillow covers, I was still like, oh, but what if my work isn't up to standard compared to some of the other shops? So, and because I was learning new sewing techniques and learning how to make other items, I did price my things slightly lower than the other average shops. And plus, there was a sales technique to that too, because if something's slightly lower, then someone might be more inclined to buy from you. Yeah, so there was a little bit of self-doubt, but I was really conscientious with my work. And if something didn't look quite right, I never sent it out. I practiced and practiced and practiced. And I ended up having, all 5-star reviews in both of my shops. I won't say all of them. There's always those off customers that are just, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, it was definitely a growing process in my skills. But then I started hiring my seamstresses, which, that was another aspect of my journey, because then I went from being the entrepreneur and the one who was making to now I was in leadership over these people that came in under me. So that was a huge growth process for me too, because I really didn't know how to lead anyone. And that was a lot of growth for me because, I had people that were late with items that were supposed to bring things to me. And then I was late giving things to my customers. So I had to learn, and the Lord had to show me how to really lead people and how to guide them and show them, because some of them were not Christians, so I had to show them, this is what godly character is. You do what you say and you're going to do. And so that was a big challenge.
Wow. Man, this is so good. Guys, if you have any questions, throw them up here because Rachel can answer these questions. We've already been going nearly 45 minutes, believe it or not. So I want to open up a time where maybe you can share some things you feel on your heart towards women, younger women, or women that are now, they don't have a job and they're thinking about business. I don't know, whatever you feel on your heart to empower women here that are listening.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to go back into my story and encourage them to be open to what the Lord has for you. Because, when I started, I really, I didn't know how to think outside the box. I only knew what I had seen. And I'm like, okay, so this is what everyone else does. So this is probably what I'm going to do. And never in a million years would I have thought that I would go down the direction that I'm currently going down. So I would really encourage people to pray for the Lord's will, that they would be open to what his plan is for them, for their life. It says in Psalms, let's see, in Psalm 139, it says that, there's a book that has been written about your life that was written before you were born. And so the Lord knows everything that's going to happen to you, because he's not bound in time like we are. So he knows everything that's going to happen. So just ask him, say, Lord, which direction should I go in? What should I do? And then be open for that crazy answer. But also, I will say, surround yourself with counselors too. When you're asking for direction for the Lord, bounce these ideas off of people that you trust in your life too, for godly counsel as well.
Wow. Come on. I think it's really intriguing how maybe for some people, for me, I know a year ago coming into 100X and seeing these entrepreneurs, men and women, who love Jesus, are on fire, understand kingdom, but still have successful businesses, good parents, good spouses. You don't have a whole life like God designed, are generous, and seem to carry the fullness. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, obviously, before you got into this space, you were working in a job, like before this whole journey began, where this probably was not normal. Could you talk about that a little bit, the fullness that you see on this journey?
Yeah, well, it's definitely been a journey that has not been easy. When you're an entrepreneur and you're living to that standard that you want to maintain as far as your kingdom values are concerned, you know, it's some days it's not easy. You know, the road is not easy. But you know, we really have an amazing mentor in Pedro in 100X. So he gives a really a great example for that. But as far as we're concerned, my husband and I, you know, it's about checking in with each other. You know, how are we doing in this area? You know, where can we improve? What are we doing well? And also, it's about really looking at your time management as far as business is concerned, making sure that you're stewarding your time well, making sure that you're stewarding your finances well. And then also, you know, first and foremost, keeping the Lord first in your life, you know, keeping the Lord first in your business, and operating in those kingdom principles that just are vital. They're vital. You might be able to get away with not having them for a short amount of time, but then you're going to crash and burn. You know, if you don't love well, and if you don't honor well, and if you don't have those specific things that you need in order to be in the kingdom and to really prosper, you're just not going to succeed. Yeah.
Wow. I'm just checking to see if there are any questions. No one's asking any questions, just commenting more and more. Maybe in this last part, we can just really cover some of the supernatural things. Anything supernatural that you wanted to share? I know you kind of touched on that a little bit, and you wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So let me see here. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I don't know if I told you this story, Joseph. I was on my way to pick up an order from my manufacturer. And this is a family that owns the factory that we really have grown to love. They're very sweet. And on the way to the factory, the Lord told me to worship. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to worship. What's going on here? So I'm worshiping on the way, and all of a sudden, I started to see a vision as I'm driving my car. And as I'm driving, I begin to see the car. It looked like I was going through a car wash, but instead of water, it was gold. So the car was just being covered in liquid gold. So I get to the factory and I'm like, Lord, what is going on? What is this? So I go in, the owner walks me out with my order, and she says, honey, how is everything going? How's your business? I'm like, it's going great. It really is. And she's like, that's amazing. And then she goes, and then she backs up against the building and she starts to sob. And I'm like, what is happening? And she just told me what an incredible burden she was under, because she had so many employees that, you know, sometimes their business is slow, sometimes it's not. And it's just, you know, it's not steady. So she was feeling the weight of that. And so I was like, listen, what you need to do is you need to start marketing a line of clothing, because that's what they make. They make all clothing. You need to come up with your own line of clothing and market it and sell it at retail prices. And I told her how much I was making a month on Etsy alone, and she couldn't believe it. And she's like, and she's probably in her late 60s, I'd say. Her daughter works with her too. And she's like, oh, honey, I don't know how to do that. And I'm like, I could teach you. That's what I do. And she looked at me and she goes, let's be partners.
Wow.
She goes, you can have whatever you want. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I will give you whatever percentage you want if you can help us.
Wow.
So that's pretty amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So basically we have a factory at our disposal if we want it. So we are working out details and trying to discuss what a partnership with them would look like. But I believe, and no one could tell me differently, that was a God-ordained interaction.
Wow.
And I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've had a few of these kind of like, God supernatural things that have unpacked in the natural in your business, starting with the sewing idea. And then there was a onesie idea too, something like that?
Yeah. So there was a point, I think it was, I don't know, it might have been a year ago, where sales dropped for like a week. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. So I sat down and I started coming up with all of these different ideas for onesies. And by ideas, I mean, we put different sayings on onesies in vinyl, and then we heat press them. So I came up with maybe 20 different designs, and I put them up, and one design during that day went viral. It became the top selling onesie on Etsy, and there were 25,000 onesies on Etsy currently.
Wow.
That's just in the boys sector. This happens to be a onesie for boys. So there are probably 50,000 when you look at boys and girls, but it came the number one seller. And then Etsy contacted me, which is very out of the ordinary. So I was able to have like actually a voice-to-voice interaction with them, which was really, really cool. So
wow. And what do they want to know?
They just wanted to know what I was, they wanted to know what marketing techniques I was doing. They wanted to know my processes. And then they also gave me a contact. So a personal contact within the company that I could contact if I had any issues.
Wow. Favor.
Yeah.
Man.
Super cool. So
wow.
I'm super excited, and I have to tell you that I feel like I'm in another time of where the Lord is stirring me to create a different business. And so I feel like I'm brooding, almost like I'm pregnant. And I felt like this since our last 100X conference. And I really feel like there's something new coming around the corner for us, and I'm almost sure what it is. But yeah, I'm excited to see what God has for us. And I'm excited for all of you, you know, because if he did it for me, he'll do it for any of you. You know, he's no respecter of persons. And if you have that desire in your heart to start a business, he'll lead you in the path that you're supposed to take. Just believe it.
Yeah. Someone is asking, what message did you put on the onesie, out of curiosity?
It says, and you can look it up too. My store is called Cobalt and Coral on Etsy, the two color names. It said at the top, just joined team, and then the last name. Actually, Yeah, I think I put that post up, Joseph, just around the time you found out you were having number 3, didn't you? And the name
Yeah.
on it was Wilson.
Yeah.
Just joined Team Wilson.
Yeah. Rachel had put up this post and it said just joined Team Wilson, and we had just found out that we were pregnant, so it was really trippy when she did that.
Yeah.
But that's so cool. You would have seen that onesie all around the place. Now you know who's behind it, you know?
Yep, that's me. And now of course other people are copying it. So
Yeah.
that will happen too. So
Yeah.
just gotta
But
roll with it.
as a kingdom entrepreneur, as a kingdom anything, we are actually called to be cutting edge. We're always ahead of the curve. We're always ahead of everything. But usually we just don't believe it. We don't trust, right? Like God's called us to be above this whole thing. And I love that you are such an example of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I believe that, we're creators. Our Father is a creator.
Yeah.
He wants to give us all of these amazing ideas if we just ask to access them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Josh just put in the comments the Etsy store, so you can see that if you want to. Also, in my caption, you should be able to see a couple of links where you can contact Rachel, her Facebook page, and also a website. And that's to do with something she's about to launch in a little while, and we'll come on here and talk about it again. But man, hopefully you ladies got blessed. I got super blessed because this has encouraged me on how normal it is to partner with God to see what He wants to get done in the world, you know. And Rachel, I just want to first say thank you. Thank you for your time. And secondly, I want to ask you if you could pray for everyone here that are listening now or that will listen in the future, maybe just imparting into them anything you feel.
Sure. Well, first of all, absolutely. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It's such an honor. I love what you're doing, Joseph. You're so gifted and so talented, and I'm just blessed to have you in our lives. So, yeah.
Feeling is mutual. Yeah.
Okay. So, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this time. Lord, I just ask that you would bless everyone that's watching this and who will hear it in the future. And Lord, I ask that you would just impart that belief, Lord, that you have an unending amount of wisdom that you can distribute to people that want to start on an entrepreneurial journey. Lord, I ask that you would give these people an increased measure of the ability to hear what you're saying, to sense what you're doing, and to know the times and the seasons that they're in. Lord, I ask that you would fill them, Lord, with such uncontrollable faith, Lord, to know that you are their Heavenly Father and that you desire to bless them, Lord. Father, I pray that you would even speak to them in their dreams, Lord, and give them incredible ideas, Lord, those out of the box ideas that would just change our society, Father, that would fill their bank accounts, that would end up being able to bless all of those people that need to be blessed. Father, I just thank you for this. And I just thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Boom. Blessed, guys. Blessed. You're blessed. Hey, before we finish, I always ask people for their favorite quote or scripture or one-liner or wisdom bomb that they are feeling in the current season. What would you say that is for you?
Let's see. I have to go with James 1:5. You know, it's if you need wisdom, go to the Father and ask him, and you will have it if you believe.
Wow.
So go get it. Go get it, you guys. Go get it.
There you go, guys. If you need wisdom, Ask the Father, He will give it to you. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for being here with us. Thank you, Rachel, for being here with us. I look forward to more things that we might start doing, because I don't know if you guys realize, but God is really doing something with women right now, and He's starting to make it really obvious. So I'm really, really excited for whatever's to come. Thank you guys for joining us. That's the end of today's episode. Rachel, you can stay with me, but everyone else, we're going to say bye to you right now. So take care. Have a good day.
Faith and patience. Faith and patience. Patience means allow it to happen. Stay the same. Stay persistent. Keep going. Faith, know that it can happen at any moment. Get excited because it can happen at any moment. You are so close. Don't quit now. Keep pushing. You got this.